Hey there, we are super excited about our guest on today's show.
A major guitarist. I mean, this guy is a guitarist.
If you love lots of guitar in your country music, you're going to love this guy. His name is Ben Gallaher. He's got a brand new album that just came out, I don't know, a few days ago, called Country in the House. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the single that's coming that a superstar co-wrote, his history, why he's so into guitar, and just you're going to get to know a lot about this really incredible country artist. So we're super excited to have him on.
Stick around.
Seconds away. All right. Well, Ben, I know you got to be super excited with the new album just out, and this must be a moment that it feels so good because you put so much work in for so long, and now to finally have that tangible thing out there. How does it feel?
It's surreal, man. I mean, it's been several years in the making. You only make your first record once, that's for sure. And so I've been over the moon that these songs are finally out into the world. And the process that goes from the day we wrote them to recording the work tape on your phone to demoing them in the studio to playing them live to then recording the master, playing the guitars, the vocal, and then finally it's out. So it's a long road to get here. And I'm thrilled to have this body of work finally out in the world. 15 songs, man.
That's awesome. What's it like when you just listed all the things that go into it, the demo, then getting it and everything, when you have to go, I don't think this is going to make the record? How does that feel?
Not great. No. I'm a live guy, man. I love playing live. I've been playing live for a long time, and I've always used live shows as a great indicator on what songs should make the record and not. So say we write a song, I'm going to go out and play it to somebody that's never heard it. And if we're in a bar or a club, if I'm seeing beers in the air and people are rocking on and I can see it firsthand from the stage, this song's connecting with 600 people or however many people, and they've never heard it before, that's a really good sign.
Right.
And if you're losing people to the bar at the first chorus, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, was it the lead singer of Coldplay says he always watches the exit signs, and if people are under it, he knows he's not doing the right thing?
That's right. Change it up, man.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing, and I've seen you play live, and you are a guitarist, super guitarist.
No.
So when you're out playing live, how do you capture that energy on an album from being on a stage?
Well, that's a great question, man. I try to put myself in that place, but for me, sometimes I spent just as much, if not more time writing the guitar solos than I did writing the song. I've always, as a guitar player, I've always looked at a guitar intro or a solo as an extension of the lyric, because it can stir emotion, right? Like there's no lyric on an instrumental piece, obviously, but that doesn't mean it can't make you feel a certain way. And so I've always carried that with me pretty closely, that the guitar is an extension of the lyric because it makes you feel something.
100%. Well, I'm a big jazz fan, and Miles Davis didn't have to have lyrics to connect. John Coltrane didn't have to have lyrics to connect, but that music makes you feel something if you're into it. And so I think that goes with what you're talking about too. And if we'll talk about guitarists, people like Stanley Clarke or pick any of those guys from back in the day. I mean, you feel that emotion coming through, and so it's an exceptional gift to have to be able to pick up an instrument like that and make us feel something with just the music. That's cool.
No, I appreciate it, man. That's important to me.
Now, is your mother still your number one fan, or has she moved on to another guitarist?
My wife is.
Nice. Well, let's back up just for a second, because I mean, obviously we're excited about the album Country in the House, and we're going to talk about the single that's coming too. But let's do a little history of you. So you picked up a guitar when you were 6. You come from a place that's not necessarily known for pumping out country stars. Pennsylvania. How did you get into all this? When did you decide this is for me? I know I want to do this with my life.
Great question, man. I was 6. That's when I got my first guitar, and that's when I knew. I would sing along to. There was like 5 or 6 country stations that you could pull in not necessarily my hometown, but just that area. So country was always playing. That's what my folks played, and my brother. So I remember singing of it Tim McGraw into my dad's stick shift of his F-150 like it was a microphone. And I was just a student of country music since then. And it sounds crazy to say, but from 6 years old, I knew right then and there that that's what I was going to do. And it's a God thing, man. I mean, I started playing guitar, but I didn't really have any lessons. I had a handful of lessons early on, but other than that, like I just played like it. So it sounds crazy, but it's the truth is like, I feel like I'm here to play music. That's
well, I've seen you and I believe that.
Yeah. And it's, and I don't think for those of us who are just regular people, I don't think we realize sometimes you assume when you see someone who can really sing or really play whatever the instrument, whatever, that, well, they must have had lessons. They must have had to do all this training and yada, yada, yada. But then you hear your story and look at Lindsey Buckingham from, Fleetwood Mac, doesn't read music, never had a lesson. And he has that crazy style. Sometimes people just have somebody reached down out of the sky and touched you and gave you a gift. And that is something.
That's right, man.
Who was the first guitarist you ever fell in love with?
Oh, man. Well, probably Brent Mason. He's a studio player that played on a lot of that 90s stuff, that chicken picking. I mean, that sold me. And I'm trying to figure out, like, he's playing with the thumb pick and what's going on here? And just a cool style that hooked me from the beginning because it was all through that 90s country. What a sound, too. Sonically, what an era of music that was.
What would be 3 of the first songs that jump out at you from the 90s? The guitar playing in them.
Oh, man.
That you love.
Oh, man.
First ones that come to mind.
I mean, Alan Jackson, Chattahoochee, Who's Cheating Who,
Solid.
some of that. I mean, a lot of the Alan Jackson stuff really pokes out to me first as that chicken picking sound, that clean Telecaster. When you think of country guitar, you think of those guitars, the Fender Tele.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So you come to Nashville. You went to you were at a school in Pennsylvania, right? And then you came and went to Belmont when you came to Nashville, right?
I did, yeah.
I was just saying, and then you pulled the rare thing where you're a musician and somebody who's actually doing this for a living and who actually did get a degree. You didn't do the thing where you start out and then go, I'm not doing this, and you drop out. That seems to be the norm.
I graduated.
Hey, you're kind of a show off.
I moved at 19 and went to Belmont and studied entertainment industry studies, but I was so ate up with being on the road. And I would stay up at night in college figuring out, I gotta get on the road. I gotta play. So I formed a band with some college kids and rented a van until I could buy one and book my own shows. A lot of artists and writers, their first step when they move to Nashville is they break into the writing circles and they just write and find their crew of people and write with everybody and try to hone in that craft. And I love songwriting, but for me, it was what drove me and kept me up at night was playing live and learning how to work a crowd. And those are things you can't learn in a classroom. So it's like I could have a degree, I could study contract law, music business, contract law, and record deals and all that stuff. But until you get out and go do it, there's no substitute for that. If an amp blows out and you got 500 people or more or less, guess what? You got to figure out how to keep the show going. So those are things that you learn only by wheels on the road playing.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important too. It's the joke, and I'm not trying to slight teachers anyway, because we love teachers. We're all about them. They say those who can do and those who can't teach. But there is a little bit of truth to that. It's not that they can't necessarily, because you have to have some of that background. But you're right. It's 100%. You are in a business where if you're not out doing it and experiencing those things and learning how to deal with them in that way, then you're never going to pick it up in a classroom.
That's right.
Jason Aldean told us once, talking about these reality shows like The Voice and American Idol, he goes, exactly what you just said. He goes, these kids don't know how to work a room yet. And some of them are thrust into the spotlight and they've never been in a room where maybe the crowd isn't into them. And it's like, how do I win them over?
That's right. You can't skip steps, man.
Yep.
Well, and then that's a good segue. Speaking of Jason Aldean, you couldn't get anybody to help you write this single that's coming?
Oh, man, I'm telling you.
Loving You Gets in the Way is the song. And how cool is it to have somebody like that doing the songwriting for you?
No doubt. So this record, Country in the House, we picked from 400 songs that I've written over the past several years, and a couple outside songs. And the single "Loving You Gets in the Way" is one of those outside songs. And Neil Thrasher, who's one of the co-writers on the song, and co-produced this song, played me it a couple years ago, and I fell in love with this song. And Al Dean was one of the writers on it. So I was thinking, oh man, maybe, Al Dean, he's probably going to cut it. I'm not going to have a chance. And a couple years go by, and it's still there. And I kept asking about this song. Man, I love this song. Fast forward, man, 3 years later, able to cut it, bring it to life. I could not be more thankful for the opportunity to record that song. It's been one of my...
And how cool is this? You're actually getting to throw a bone to Jason Aldean because he's been tight around his household money-wise. So, thank you.
I feel good about that.
I'm sure he appreciates the assist.
Right. I'm such an Aldean fan. I mean, I'm a huge Aldean fan. So it's pretty cool to have him as a writer on the song with Neil and Lee Miller.
Who are some others? I mean, obviously, you're just getting this thing launched. It's your debut album, but looking ahead, who are some people that you are excited to hopefully one day work with in some form or fashion, writing, playing, touring, whatever?
I would always love to do a collaboration with Vince Gill.
Oh,
talk about
he's
voices
the
and
best.
people who can play. It must be, when you're as good a player as you are, it must be exciting to think about playing with somebody like him who's known for his abilities.
Big time. I mean, I grew up on that too. Like I dug into his guitar playing, and his vocal is it's such a one of a kind, iconic vocal. There's nobody like him. And so I always thought, man, because I have, my sound is a little more raspy of a vocal. And with that tenor, like that'd be with some guitar playing. I mean, that'd be the dream collab.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is he's such a great guy. I can't imagine that not happening.
Hey, can you guys help me make that happen?
No. Yeah.
Deals can always be made, Ben. Deals can always be made.
The last time I remember a guitarist coming out that had your style and flair and just ability was Keith Urban.
No, that's a big compliment, man. Wow. I grew up, Keith, what are you talking about, man? It's incredible.
It's not that the first time I think the first time we saw him was at Country Radio Seminar. Wasn't that the first time we saw him live? Because I know he did the showcases in San Diego. We were there for that, but I don't know if it was the first time, but anyway, we were at this radio seminar, and he came out on stage, and he was a part of the New Faces.
Yeah, and you only get 3-4 songs.
And he really didn't say a word to start. He just came out and did a guitar solo. It's like it's as if Eddie Van Halen had walked out and played Eruption, and everybody's faces were just melting off, and we were all just looking at each other like, what is going on? And then he was like, "Hi, I'm Keith Urban." And then he sang, and it was like,
just wanted to let us know I can play guitar.
Yeah.
FYI,
whoa. He has arrived.
Yeah. But you have that thing. I mean, just when you look you up on look up Ben Gallaher on the internet, Google yourself, and one of the first things that comes up is your TikTok of doing Thunderstruck AC/DC, which is killer.
And then a lot from the fappening when you leak some pictures.
Well, no, I don't.
Oh, those don't come up.
That's probably not something we talk about. Off music for just a second. We should also mention, because it's a pretty big deal, that you were an Eagle Scout. That's incredible.
I am. Thank you.
So how long did it take you to get to that level? Because I only know just a little bit about what I see on TV and stuff. So what goes into that? Because I know it's huge.
It's like a 12-year journey. But you learn a lot. I mean, it's not just wilderness survival and all those things, that's part of it. Like those things it's outdoor. But putting together a project as you're planning everything out, working your plan and planning your work. And so there's a lot of things that you can take from that. Similar to sports. I mean, I was a wrestler my whole life, well, not my whole life, but until college. And at the time, you don't realize it at the time, but there's so many things you can pick up from that applies in life. That's
really
more than just the match. It's discipline, and it's determination, and it's all of those things, resilience, that you can apply that I used in my music career.
You're certainly not dumb. I mean, because we talked. I'm just going to say we've talked to a lot of artists over the years, and a lot of them
they're as dumb as rocks.
They're just dumb.
Oh,
and they're nice people, It's not that they're not nice, but you can talk to them and you're like, oh man, okay.
Not the sharpest tool.
Yeah, and now
it.
we're going to list those artists. Oh, no, we're not going to.
But I mean, the way you're thinking, the way you
Too
put it
soon.
all together, I mean, you're clearly building something here, and it's, I think
We're excited for you.
I'm really happy for you, man. I think this is going to be big for you.
No, man, I appreciate the support more than I can say. Big time.
And then, so 2 more quick things, and then we'll let you get on with your day. Real quick, tell us how you began touring for prisons, because you've done this barbed tour now. Is it 7 years, 6 years?
10.
10 years? Holy smokes. So what made you want to tour and perform for inmates, guys? I think that's super cool.
Thank you. A friend of mine in 2011 worked at one of the state prisons in Pennsylvania, and he came up to me one time. He says, hey, man, he's like, we're thinking about doing something different for the inmates this year. Love to have country music in and do a show. You ever thought about playing for the inmates? I said, hell no, I haven't thought about playing for the inmates. But it reminded me of Johnny Cash.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm like, dude, I'm down. So I went in that year by myself, a solo acoustic. They've all been solo acoustic. And 250 inmates in the gymnasium on bleachers, brought in my speakers, set it up. And I'm telling you, man, you could hear a pin drop in there. It was unbelievable. And watching these guys latch onto these songs was one of the most moving experiences. And so the following year, it kind of spread to a bunch of the other state prisons in Pennsylvania. So my phone would start ringing from different state prisons. And so I was like, the next year, I was like, I'm going to make a tour out of it.
That's awesome.
I'm going to tour the Pennsylvania state prisons. So I would do, it was always in the month of December, and I would do anywhere from 8 to 15 in like 4 weeks, sometimes 2 a day. And I mean, I could tell you stories till I'm blue in the face, man. It's just the wildest experience. I had a guy one time, he came up, he said, because I got a chance to talk to him on their way out a couple of times.
Okay.
And he said, hey, man, I got to tell you, he said, I hate country music, but I've been in here for 20 years, and those songs just changed my whole outlook on life. And
Wow.
he said, you make me want to be a better person and reach for my goals when I get out of here. And it's like, whoa.
Wow,
So
that's a twist, because when he came out, I don't like country music. I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Because you don't want somebody
Guard!
Yeah.
Should he be
What
this
are you
close to me?
listening to? Right. And it's like,
incredible.
That's the power of music, especially country, right? Because it's so driven by the lyrics. So I'm playing a heartbreak song, and I'm watching guys in the front row crying. And I'll get messages often from guys that have either since got out or family members that says, hey, that found me on Instagram or Facebook and said, hey, I just wanted to let you know, I talked to John the other day, and I haven't heard him that happy in 10 years. And he told me that you took him out of prison for 90 minutes. And it's like when you hear that music, or when you hear that feedback, it all stems from the music and the connection that you can have with somebody to maybe get them on a better path, man. It's like, that's why awesome. I do it.
That's huge. Any ideas or thoughts of taking it outside Pennsylvania, making it bigger?
That's a great question, man. I haven't even thought about it, but
one per state.
Maybe I should.
I don't know. It sounds like it's making an impact on people. You could do some really incredible things for people around the country.
Sounds like a great TV movie.
Just an idea.
Hey, if you guys wanted to catch one of the shows, I could do one in Tennessee. But
I'll be in prison at some point soon.
That's the thing.
It's a miracle he's not there already, frankly.
Start thinking about what you want to do if you want to catch one of the shows.
Yes.
We got to plan our scheme.
Knock off a gas station. And then...
That is crazy. That's very cool. All right, well, we're going to do one more thing with you, Ben, and Chris found this, and we thought it would be kind of interesting.
We're starting a band, and we found a list of questions to ask guitarists you're thinking of adding to your band. So we're going to ask you real quick here. Can you describe how you take care of your guitar?
Change the strings.
Okay. What has been the highlight of your career as a guitarist so far?
Oh, man, that's a good question. As a guitarist, been the highlight of my career. Probably playing with the studio musicians in town that played on the records that I grew up on, and then I got to play with them.
Okay. Nice. What new musical skills have you learned in the last 6 months?
Ooh, new musical skills. Been dabbling with banjo.
Oh, okay.
Ah, very nice.
And what 3 qualities make a great guitarist?
Timing, feel, and not overplaying.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, very nice. All right.
Well,
Well,
we'll let you know. You're on the list.
you're on the list. You're on the short list. And so if this thing works out,
When we start our band.
yeah, well, see if you make
Hey,
it.
man, I'm going to be waiting by the phone.
I'm sure you will be.
The album is Country in the House. Ben Gallaher, thank you so much for taking the time.
Everybody
to talk to
go
us, man.
check him out. Follow him on socials, everything.
Stream this album and let's make this guy a superstar. We really appreciate your time, man.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you.